Welcome to today's webcast entitled, What is the Community College President's Initiative in STEM? My name is Dr. Elizabeth Hawthorne, and I will be serving as today's moderator. While we are waiting to get started, please put your name and your college's or institution's name in the chat box below. Toward the end of the presentation, we will have a Q&A session and we'll ask you to type your questions in the chat box. I will read the questions aloud for our presenters to answer. Please hold all questions until then. It is my distinct honor to introduce today's presenters, Dr. Charlene Dukes and Dr. George Boggs. Dr. Dukes is a co-principal investigator for the National Science Foundation CCPI STEM project, as well as President Emeritus of Prince George's Community College in Maryland. Dr. Boggs is also a co-principal investigator, President Emeritus of the American Association of Community Colleges, and Superintendent and President Emeritus of Palomar College in California. I'm a Senior Professor Emeritus of Union College in New Jersey and serve as a co-PI on the CCI project as well. Now, without further ado, I pass the baton to Dr. Dukes to discuss the goals, objectives, and rationale of our National Science Foundation project.
Good afternoon. I'm delighted to be with you all and delighted that you were able to join us in this podcast. And the project goal for us is very simple. What we want to do is galvanize and inspire community college leadership from across the country, board members, presidents, administrators, and others who are particularly interested in the diversification of STEM workers across our nation. What we know is today that 69% of the employee base in STEM fields are white, followed by 11% being identifying as African American and 7% identifying as Hispanic or Latino. We know that the job market lags behind when we think about the number of job openings vis-a-vis the number of individuals who are prepared to fill those job openings in STEM. We are about $3.4 million, $4 million. Oh my goodness, we'll do this again. 4 million workers short. And community colleges are the most diverse institutions of higher education in the nation. And we are well primed to provide the workforce that the STEM field needs in our country. Our objectives are to engage you, community college presidents, board members, and leaders in the National Science Foundation's advanced technology education and STEM education programs. And what does that mean? It means that we want to be sure that community colleges continue and exceed the percentage of grants that are available through the National Science Foundation with a specific focus on educating the next STEM, both employees and entrepreneurs of the century. We want to identify the important needs and issues of community college leaders by regions. What do you need to be successful? And how can CCPI STEM and other programs that are focused on supporting community colleges help you? We want to provide curricular materials for future community college leaders so that they too can understand the importance of the role that community colleges play in educating and providing a workforce. And we want to continue to collaborate with the business and workforce community because we want to ensure that we are preparing students for them. So the rationale, I've already told you, there's a need for a skilled workforce in STEM. There is a clarion call for diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workforce. And there's a significant increase in the growth of jobs that are requiring STEM backgrounds. Our diversity in the nation's community colleges can help us to help the nation meet its needs.
So our project is focused on partnerships, strengthening those partnerships and taking advantage of them to advance the cause of STEM education in our community colleges. We hope to have at least 80 of the nation's community colleges involved with us as collaborators and partners. We enjoy the strong support of the long-standing work that the American Association of Community Colleges has done in STEM education and working with the National Science Foundation. And we have in our leadership the Association of Community College Trustees and the League for Innovation in the Community College. We also have some enthusiastic support from the community college leadership doctoral programs in the country who hope to use some of our work in their leadership programs. And of course, also there are various leadership institutes around the country that we hope to partner with. Those are sponsored by national associations, by councils, and even some states and local community colleges have these leadership institutes that we hope to support.
And so how we expect to do that is to create regional networks that are led by a community college president, a current sitting president, or one who has had the opportunity to have a long, outstanding career as the president of our nation's community colleges. So they may be looking for some opportunity to continue their work and to continue their commitment. So we're creating regional networks. We currently have 4. And we expect to expand those over the next year to an additional 2 to 3. We're establishing and overseeing the CCPI STEM Fellows Program, and you'll hear about that a little later from Dr. Boggs. We're engaging, as you've already heard, in collaboration with our associations, those who represent the nation's community colleges and serve as the voice for our needs and desires. We're partnering with business and industry, and all of you can likely name businesses, industries, nonprofit partners who are helping and supporting you as you educate the nation's future STEM workers. We're collaborating with MC and Burning Glass because we want to assess the economic impact of ATE grants. What we know today is just about 20% of the nation's community colleges are participating with an NSF ATE grant, and we want to get that number up. The more community colleges who are successful in the application and the acquisition process of grants, the more students that we can serve as they seek to become the nation's STEM workers. You've already heard we're developing some curricular material, and Dr. Boggs will speak about that too a little later in the podcast. And we're going to test those with community college leaders of graduate programs and certainly leadership institutes.
So this graphic shows the components of our project, and at the center is the regional networks. We hope to develop regions across the country where colleges can share materials and develop materials to strengthen STEM education programs and to strengthen their ability to be successful with their grant proposals. Affiliated with this, of course, we have the CCPI leadership team and the National Advisory Board, and you'll be hearing more about those bodies as we progress with our slides. Dr. Dukes mentioned the economic impact study that will show the regional economic impact of these grant-funded programs. We will be preparing an annual summit that will allow our institutions to share materials and learn about how to make their grant proposals more effective. We are preparing CCPI STEM guides to help our colleges and support them. Of course, the regional networks will be developing initiatives which we hope to share across the country. As I mentioned earlier, we are developing modules through curriculum development that can be inserted into doctoral programs and leadership institutes across the country. And you'll be hearing more about the leadership of that project in a couple of slides. And of course, the CCPI STEM Fellows Program, where we are supporting selected graduate students in their research in STEM education and workforce education. There are a lot of collaborative efforts, and as Dr. Dukes mentioned, we hope to develop collaborations not only with educational institutions and associations, but also with local business and industry.
Back to me. We have, in the first year, we have developed a website. You see the URL there. I'm not going to go to the website right now for the purpose of time, but on the website, you will see publications from, we have through the leadership team has published. We also have dissemination materials anyone can download and pass along to a colleague or pass them the link. And we are working on developing presence on different social media platforms like Twitter and LinkedIn. Those will be coming soon, so we encourage you to look out for those on your social media platforms.
So the work, we are focused on enhancing institutional capacity to secure NSF AT funding. That's the major focus of our project. We want to see more of our colleges to become more successful. We are guided by this National Advisory Board and by regional network chairs. And again, you'll be hearing more about those groups shortly. As I mentioned, we're developing instructional modules, and you'll be hearing more about the curriculum specialists who are working on that project, that part of our project shortly. And we are creating a fellows program to support selected graduate students who are focused on community college STEM and workforce development research.
So I think that I hate to do this, but I think I'm getting out of sync with the numbers.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, we'll continue to talk about the work. And I think what's so important about this is that the NSF has actually put about $1.1 billion into STEM programs over the past 25 years. And today, as of February of 2022, there are 390 distinct NSF ATE programs led by 206 community colleges. So what we know is that while we are certainly securing grants, we don't have enough community colleges who are out there in order to meet the needs that we see both presently before us and those that we expect to come in the future. So we're providing program dissemination materials for our regional network chairs, and you'll get a chance to learn who they are in a few moments. They are current presidents who are very much committed to STEM education, and to using grants to be innovative and transformative in their institutions. We're collaborating with regional businesses, and we could name a few, whether it's the technology councils in our areas, if it is Lockheed Martin, other kinds of organizations. We think about all of them that we're working with. We're identifying opportunities to engage our boards of trustees, as they set policy and strategic direction for our institutions. And we know that these things don't happen without the engagement of presidents and other senior leaders, because we have to give faculty and deans of STEM the kind of time and opportunity to write grants and then to execute those grants. And then how do we disseminate the information about what we're doing at local, regional, and national conferences and convenings? We've had the opportunity to do so through the American Association of Community Colleges, through the Association of Community College Trustees, the League of Innovation, through the Governance Leadership Institutes that are sponsored by ACCG, where a number of the attendees are board members who understand their role and their responsibility, again, in moving the institution forward with a strategic direction. And grants and resource development can certainly be a key part of that. And then we're planning the first CCPI STEM annual summit for fall of 2023. And it's our intent that all of you would be present, because you'll be more knowledgeable. You'll have the opportunity to engage with more resources and really be able, through mentoring and other kinds of programs that exist, to submit grants and to be successful in those submissions. Again, as we do our part to make sure that we are educating students who can meet the needs of the STEM workforce, both today and in the future. So I think, George, you'll introduce our National Advisory Board.
Let's see, I was on for the RN chairs. I think this one is yours.
Okay, well, we have certainly joining us on the advisory board are 3 presidents and 2 association heads who should all be familiar to you. Dr. Sylvia Jenkins, the president of Moraine Valley Community College, and they have had annually for the last 7 to 8 years a STEM program for 7th graders. And the work that they've done as they've gotten members of their community interested in STEM, and more importantly, the kind of funding that they've received from the National Science Foundation, again, to support the STEM community. We're also joined on the board by Dr. David Harrison, the president of Columbus State Community College in Ohio. I know many of you know David and the work that Columbus State has done, where they have moved from an institution that received annually about $12 million in grants up to $70 million in grants, much of which is supported by the National Science Foundation. And then Dr. Annette Parker, the president of South Central College in Minnesota. Many of you know that Annette was appointed to the workforce board by former President Barack Obama for the work that they're doing in advanced manufacturing, which also has a STEM component associated with it. Dr. Rufus Glasper, the former Chancellor Emerita of the Maricopa Community College System, and he is now the president and CEO of the League for Innovation in the Community College. What we know that Dr. Glasper does is he's transferred his commitment, his skills, and his expertise to this program to serve on the advisory board, because they work very intimately with faculty and other mid-level administrators in looking at the nation's workforce and what community colleges can do in innovative and transformative ways to meet the expectation. And then Mr. Ji-Hang Lee, the newly appointed president and CEO of the Association of Community College Trustees, lends his expertise because he knows the significant role that board members play, again, in setting institutional direction and holding us accountable for the work that we say that we're going to do.
Our initial regional network chairs have a wealth of experience in community college leadership and a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion in the STEM workforce. So we're very pleased to have these strong leaders as our initial regional network chairs. First is Dr. Ann Kress, who has been president of Northern Virginia Community College since 2020 and currently leads our efforts in Delaware, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Second, we have Dr. Dan Phelan, who has been president at Jackson College in Michigan since 2001. He currently leads our efforts in Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, and Wisconsin. Dr. Ed Massey is the president emeritus of Indian River State College in Florida. Ed retired after serving for 47 years as an educator and leader in Florida. As an RN chair, he currently leads our efforts in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, North Carolina, and South Carolina. And last, we have Dr. Frank Chong, who has served as the superintendent and president of Santa Rosa Junior College in California since 2012. Frank currently leads our efforts in Alaska, Arizona, California, Hawaii, American Samoa, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington. You can find more information and more complete bios on our website for our founding regional network chairs. So within our grant, we are currently working on reconfiguring the regions and seeking to add 2 to 3 regions in the next grant year. So if any of you in our viewing audience are interested or want to recommend a current or retired president to serve in this capacity, please reach out to us at leadership@ccpi-stem.org. So I'm very pleased to have such an experienced person leading our fellows program as the fellows coordinator, and that is Dr. Ashok Agrawal. He is the former vice president for academic affairs at St. Louis Community College and the former managing director for professional services and director of external affairs and outreach at the American Society for Engineering Education. His vast experience with the National Science Foundation is indicative of his commitment to STEM and to diversity. And Ashok is doing just a great job of organizing our fellows program, which we hope to launch very shortly. I'm also pleased that we have such a great team leading our curriculum development to prepare modules that can be used by community college leadership development programs and leadership institutes throughout the country. So we have Shane Kirby, who is the director of grants at Columbus State Community College in Ohio. He's very experienced in grant management and is actually one of the leading experts in grant management in community colleges across the country. So we're very pleased to have Shane working with Dr. Angel Rodriguez, who is a professor of biological sciences at Broward College in Florida, and a very experienced educator in STEM and experienced with the National Science Foundation. So that team is doing great work in preparing our modules.
And then we have our leadership team. None of this work happens without a group of individuals who are really dedicated to ensuring that the nation's community colleges, that quite frankly, that we up our game in grant application and acquisition and continuing to educate a STEM workforce. So we start with our principal investigator, Dr. Clayton Raley, who is the executive vice president and provost at Prince George's Community College. Dr. George Boggs, who needs no introduction, only for two reasons. One is because you heard him introduced at the beginning of this podcast, but two, he has been a long-time educator committed to the nation's community college, both as a superintendent president and then as the president and CEO of the American Association of Community Colleges. Charlene Dukes, just pleased to be the one of several co-principal investigators on this project. We're also joined by Dr. Vera Zdrowkowicz, who is the Vice President for Academic Affairs Emerita from Prince George's Community College. It is because of Dr. Z, as we called her lovingly, that Prince George's was able to get so many NSF grants, as she served as a faculty member in STEM, department chair, and then moved on to senior leadership. We're also joined by Dr. Elizabeth Hawthorne, who is another co-principal investigator. She is what we call the senior faculty emerita from Union College in New Jersey, where her specialties were in computer science and cybersecurity. And she has more certifications than I can possibly name in the time that we have. But suffice it to say that she has been both a principal investigator and co-principal investigator on a number of NSF ATE projects. We're also joined by Dr. Elizabeth Tellis, who is the senior advisor. Many of you may know Dr. Tellis because she worked for the National Science Foundation and really was instrumental in setting up the community college program. Today, she serves as a co-principal investigator on some projects and certainly for CCPI STEM as our senior advisor. And then we're joined by what I call the evaluator extraordinaire, Blake Urbach. Blake has more than 18 years of evaluation experience with grants of this kind, and we were absolutely delighted when she joined the team. We're also joined by Dr. Calvin Stansberry, who is the project specialist. He is the Dean of Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math at Prince George's Community College. And then Fran Melvin, the project manager, who keeps it all together for us. So we just wanted to give you the opportunity to meet our team, the National Advisory Board members, the regional network chairs, our coordinator of the fellows program, and our curriculum developers, because we wanted you to understand the level of experience that exists on this team, and again, translate that to the level of commitment that we have for each one of you.
At this time, we're going to ask you to put your questions and comments in the chat box And one at a time, we will go through them, time permitting. I will read those questions aloud and ask our distinguished presenters to answer them. One thing I do want to point out is the email address that Dr. Boggs referred to. If you're interested in recommending a regional network, and you may self-nominate if you want to be a regional network chair, and that's leadership@ccpi-stem.org, which is on the screen. So not hearing or seeing any questions, this concludes today's podcast, and feel free to stay in touch with us.